Hey everyone, it's Paul with Freedom Gorilla, and today I want to talk to you about the latest and greatest pistol optics from Sig. So Sig's pistol optic lineup has always been a little bit confusing. We did a video about this about a year ago, and since then their lineup has grown a bit, and it's actually become less confusing, but it's still a little bit confusing. So we're going to try to simplify it even more for you today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about sort of the old school Sig pistol optics, and then I'm going to talk about the new versions and the ones that we think they're going to continue to improve upon and iterate on. And also, we do have a link in the description below to our Sig Sauer pistol optic cheat sheet. What we did is we put all their optics in the easy to read tables so you could see the differences between all of them. And then we made it really easy to shop by certain features. So if you want to shop by footprint, reticle color, housing color, waterproof rating, things like that, it's all in the link below, and it makes it really easy to find the exact pistol optic that you would want. And just as a reminder, we have all these optics available on our website, freedomgorilla.com, at the best price with free shipping and in the link below. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm first going to describe a lot of the similarities between all the Sig pistol optics right now, and then I'm going to get into some of the ones that are not the most important, and then we're going to get into the ones that are important. Okay, so the way that Sig has their current pistol optic lineup is they're going to be broken down by footprint. So the two footprints that Sig really works in is the Delta Point Pro footprint or the RMSC footprint. And Sig also did come out with something called the Sig Loc footprint, which is proprietary to Sig slides, and we'll talk about that in a bit as well. But the Delta Point Pro footprint is also called the Romeo One Pro footprint. All their optics do have the shake awake feature, which is the motion activation feature. It'll automatically turn on and automatically turn off. As far as reticles, a lot of the optics they have will come either in a 3 MOA, a 6 MOA, or what Sig likes to call the circle dot reticle, which is a 32 MOA outer ring and a 2 MOA center dot, and it can be toggled. All of the optics do have removable batteries, which are removable from the side. Sig has some models that have red reticles, some that have green, some that come in FDE housing color, some that come in black. Most of the optics have daylight and night vision settings, and most have IPX7 waterproof ratings. Some have IPX4, but those are their budget models, which we'll get into. And then they have enclosed emitters, open emitters, and then they all have manual brightness modes only. And Sig right now doesn't deal with any solar panels or solar fail-safes or anything like that. All right, so let's get into real quick just 3 optics that I want to get out of the way because they're not necessarily the most mass appealing. And those are going to be the Romeo M17. So the Romeo M17, that is a really cool optic. However, it is only designed for the Sig M17, which is used by the military. So there's really no civilian slide that the M17 will go on. So you're probably out of luck there. But if you do have a military version, you can get it with the M17 optic on it. It is cool. It's an enclosed emitter. It has the rear iron sights built in. It's pretty sweet. It fits perfectly on the M17. We're not going to cover that one. The next one is going to be the Romeo 2. The Romeo 2 is an older optic from Sig. They do still make it. It's an open emitter optic, but it comes with a shroud that you could put on and turn it into a closed emitter optic. It has like 25,000 hours of battery life. It's a Delta Point Pro footprint, and it's pretty cool, but it's pretty pricey, and it's like kind of older technology. And then one of their original OG sights was the Romeo One Pro. They do still make that. It's a Delta Point Pro footprint. It has a 3 or a 6 MOA dot, comes in FDE or black housing. But now that we have those out of the way, I'm going to get into the ones I really want to talk about, which is the Romeo X Series and then the Romeo RS Series. The only things that you need to know are that the Romeo X Series is really, in my opinion, Sig's path forward in the pistol optic space. The Romeo X is their good quality pistol optic made with 7075 T6 aluminum, has an open and enclosed emitter, and has Delta Point Pro footprint and RMSC footprint optics within it with a whole bunch of variants. So that's like their mainstream, going against Trijicon, going against Holosun, things like that. The Romeo RS line, stands for reinforced steel. What that is, it's a more budget tier, and that has, again, optics that are either Delta Point Pro footprint or RMSC footprint, but it's a cheaper optic. It has a hybrid steel skeleton with a polymer outside housing. It's basically the upgraded version of the Romeo Zero series. If you do remember those were the older polymer optics that Sig had. the Romeo RS replaced that. So they've upgraded it, they've made it better, they've addressed some of the concerns that the Romeo Zero line had, and that is meant to be more of their budget optic lineup. And now the only other thing I want to describe is Sig has what they've recently come out with, which is called the Sig Loc Footprint. So the Sig Loc Footprint has two different footprints. Basically, they have the Sig Loc Pro, which is similar to a Delta Point Pro footprint, but it's only going to fit on Sig slides that are on like the P320 or the Sig P211 GTO. And then they have the Sig Compact Sig Loc, which is kind of like an RMSC footprint, but it'll only fit on Sig Compact slides like the Sig P365, for example. Basically, all Sig is doing is they're just taking the footprint a little bit further to add more points of contact to the slide to make it even more robust and more rigid. So if you did want a super tight lockup and you have a Sig pistol with one of those slides and you get a Sig Loc optic, it's gonna squeeze in there like a glove, it's gonna be fully rigid, and it really is a great idea, but you're not gonna be able to use that optic on something that has like a Delta Point Pro footprint. Like let's say if you had a Glock 45, or let's say you had a Glock 43X, you wouldn't be able to use those Sig Loc optics on them. They're only for the Sig pistols. So let's get into the Sig Romeo X Series. Now, what you need to know, within the Romeo X Series, they have the Sig Romeo X Pro, and then they have the Sig Romeo X Compact. Anytime Sig says Pro, it means it's a Delta Point Pro footprint. Anytime they say Compact, it means it's an RMSC footprint. And the only caveat there is if it's a Sig Loc. If it says Sig Loc, then it's the Sig Loc Pro footprint or the Sig Loc Compact footprint. So we'll start with the Sig Romeo X Pro. So the Sig Romeo X Pro has the Delta Point Pro footprint. It has 20,000 hours of battery life when you have it on medium settings in the dot only. You can get it in either black or FDE. It has the MOTAC auto on and auto off. It has IPX7 waterproof ratings. You can get them in either red reticles or green reticles. And then the reticle options within there, you can get either a 3 MOA dot, 6 MOA dot, or a circle dot, which is the 32 MOA outer ring and the 2 MOA center dot, 12 daylight, and 3 night vision settings, and it's manual brightness mode only. And now within the Romeo X Pro series, you have open emitter versions, and then you have closed emitter versions. So there's the Sig Romeo X Pro, which is the open emitter. Then you have the Sig Romeo X Pro enclosed, which is the closed emitter. And the closed emitter is gonna have that extra pane of glass, and it's going to protect the laser emitter from anything like snow, rain, dirt, debris, mud, things like that. And now the only other one within this Sig Romeo X Pro lineup that there is the Sig Romeo X Pro Sig Loc. And that's gonna be all the same specs, except it's gonna have that Sig Loc footprint meant for the P320 or P211 or P226 that has the Romeo 1 Pro cut. And just so you know, the Sig Loc versions are also enclosed emitters. So the Sig Romeo X Pro is really a very good option if you have a Delta Point Pro cut slide, or if you have a Delta Point Pro adapter plate. As long as you have that, you can use one of the Sig Romeo X Pro optics. And the Romeo X Pro lineup is very nice. They do have a low deck height. They have really nice iron sights built into the back of them, and you're gonna be able to co-witness quite a few of the iron sights that you have, which is really nice. Just be careful with what you're getting, because the Romeo X Pro open emitter and the Romeo X Pro enclosed both look very similar. They make the housing look very similar. They have a really deep hood, but the Romeo X Pro enclosed and the Sig Loc version are the only ones that are an actual enclosed emitter. So now let's move into the Sig Romeo X Compact series. So the Romeo X Compact series is almost the same exact thing as the Romeo X Pro series, except the optics are a little bit smaller and they have an RMSC footprint. So it'll fit directly on something like a Springfield Hellcat, Glock 43X, and especially the Sig P365. The Romeo X Compact lineup is exactly like the Pro lineup. It just has that different RMSC footprint. So the Romeo X Compact has the same specs. It has 20,000 hours of battery life on dot only with medium settings, IPX7 waterproof rating, which is really good. It has the 12 daylight, 3 night vision settings. It's manual brightness only. Comes in either FDE or black housings. You can get it in either a red reticle, or they're coming out with green reticles as well. And then you can get them in either a 3 MOA dot, 6 MOA dot, or the circle dot, which is the 32 MOA outer ring, and the 2 MOA center dot. And then the Romeo X Compact comes in either the open emitter version, which is the Romeo X Compact, or the enclosed emitter version, which is the Romeo X Compact enclosed. And now they do have the Romeo X Compact Sig Loc, which is an enclosed emitter, but it's that specific Sig Loc footprint, and it's different than the Pro. So the Sig Loc Compact footprint is meant only for the Sig P365 with that slide cut. So if you have a Sig P365 and you want an optic that is going to be super tight in there, lock up perfectly with multiple points of contact, and you don't care about swapping it onto maybe some other platforms like a Glock 43X or Springfield Hellcat, the Sig Loc version might be something to take a look at. And that is an enclosed emitter. And the Sig Romeo X Compact line is really cool. If you're looking for an RMSC footprint, enclosed emitter or open emitter that sits really low and has a low deck height, the Sig Romeo X Compact series is very good for that. Their deck height's very low because they put the battery on the side of the optic, and they do have those nice fiber optic rear iron sights machined into the housing. Okay, so now we're going to cover the Sig Romeo RS series. This is their more budget-friendly optic series, and it's the evolution of the Sig Romeo Zero series. The Romeo RS series stands for reinforced steel. They have a steel skeleton with a polymer housing. Now, there are a couple areas where the RS isn't going to have as good of specs as the Romeo X series, and those are mainly going to be in the housing material. The Romeo RS has that polymer and steel housing instead of 70-75 aluminum housing. Their waterproof ratings, they're going to have an IPX4 waterproof rating instead of an IPX7 waterproof rating like the Romeo X series. And then these RS series don't have a night vision brightness setting. They're only going to have daylight brightness modes, and they're going to have 8 daylight brightness modes instead of the 12 daylight brightness modes that the Romeo X has. But aside from that, the Romeo RS series is very similar. The only other thing is they don't have any enclosed emitter versions in there at the time of making this video. So within the Romeo RS series, you're going to have the Romeo RS Pro and the Romeo RS Compact. The Pro is going to be a Delta Point Pro footprint, and the Compact is going to be an RMSC footprint. And now the other thing that's pretty interesting to these optics is they come in either a black housing, or Sig's actually made a clear housing, which is pretty cool. And it's essentially see-through. So that's a bit interesting. I'm glad they did that just because I think it's cool, and I like to see companies doing cool stuff. So props on you, Sig, for making that clear housing. I think that's really cool, and keep that kind of stuff up. Okay, so we'll cover the Romeo RS Pro. So the Romeo RS Pro, it's a Delta Point Pro footprint. So it'll fit on any Delta Point Pro slide or adapter plate. Now the Romeo RS Pro has 20,000 hours of battery life at medium settings with the dot only. It comes in either a red or a green reticle, and then you can get them in either a 3 MOA, 6 MOA, or the circle dot reticle, which is the 32 MOA circle with the 2 MOA center dot. It has either the black housing or the clear housing, IPX4 waterproof rating, 8 daylight brightness settings, and manual brightness modes only, and it's a side removable battery. And the buttons are on the side, which is nice. The old Romeo Zero had a button in the middle of it, and that wasn't really ideal. Okay, and then the last optic we're going to cover is the Romeo RS Compact. So the Romeo RS Compact, very similar to the Pro, just a smaller optic, and it's an RMSC footprint. So it'll fit directly on things like the Glock 43X, Springfield Hellcat, Sig P365, and same specs as the Romeo RS Pro. So it's an RMSC footprint. It's an open reflex optic. It has the side removable battery. It's got 20,000 hours of battery life on the middle setting with the dot only. It comes in either a 3 MOA, 6 MOA, or the circle dot reticle, which is that 32 MOA outer ring with 2 MOA center dot. You can get it in either a red reticle or a green reticle. It's got that IPX4 waterproof rating, and it's got the 8 daylight brightness settings and manual brightness only. So that's pretty much it, guys. Hopefully the video was informative. Please remember, we have the cheat sheet below, which will break all this down in those easy to read tables and easy ways to shop. So you could shop by footprint, you could shop by series, you could shop by reticle color, housing color, all that good stuff. And all the optics are available on our website, freedomgorilla.com, and in the link below. And yeah, if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Our customer support team would be happy to help you. Thanks for watching. Stay awesome.